the day I went to celebrate Christopher's birthday. I walked in on him hugging his stepsister all close and cozy. He was soothing her in this gentle voice. I only dated her to spite Elias. You liked Elias. And he had a crush on her for so long. Elias is Christopher's sworn enemy. I never understood why Christopher hated him so much before. Turns out it was all because his stepsister liked him. So I just swung the door open and smashed the cake I worked so hard on right onto Christopher's head. You two idiots deserve each other. Then I turned to Elias, who'd just rushed over, and snapped at him. You're an idiot too. You've had a crush for years and never said anything. What? You don't have a mouth or something? Elias looked all hurt and started signing to me. Oh right. I totally forgot. He really is a mute. Chapter 01. Christopher and I grew up together. We were childhood friends. We were super close. A year ago, he suddenly confessed and said he wanted to go after me. Honestly, I didn't feel anything for him at first. But after he chased me so sincerely for 10 whole months, I started to catch feelings too. So I said yes. All our mutual friends said our friendship had turned into something else. It wasn't until I heard all this outside the private room that I realized everything was just a scam. I only dated her to piss off Elias. I mean, you like Elias. And Elias has had a crush on her forever. Elias and I are neighbors. Basically childhood friends. He's Christopher's sworn enemy. I never understood why Christopher hated him so much before. Turns out it was all because his stepsister liked him. Inside the private room, Christopher was holding his stepsister's tear-streaked face. Looking all heartbroken, he gently wiped away her tears. Helen lifted her pale little face and looked at Christopher, all aggrieved. If you do this, what about Selena? Are you really going to break up with her? Christopher frowned, totally clueless about how to answer that question. I walked in, holding the cake. Suddenly, everyone in the private room who'd been watching the drama totally freaked out. We're all from the same circle, and I grew up with them too. I honestly thought we were friends, but I never expected that when it came to this. Everyone just wanted to watch the drama and left me completely in the dark. Christopher's pupils widened in shock. His face went pale for a second, but he pulled himself together pretty fast. Selena, you heard everything. He forced a crooked smile and said, sounding like a total jerk. Sorry for using you. You've got a good temper, so you probably won't be mad, right? As he was talking, his eyes dropped down and landed on the cake I was carrying. There was this split second where he just froze, and it was that one moment of hesitation that gave me my chance. I just straight up lifted my hand and smashed the cake right on his head. Everyone around us instantly gasped. You two idiots can just spend your whole lives together. Whatever. I'm usually pretty chill, but that doesn't mean I don't have a temper. No one can just swallow it after being genuinely screwed over like that. Right after I did all that and turned around, I came face to face with Elias, who had just rushed into the room. He was panting as he looked at me, his pale face turning a little red. He must have run over here in a hurry. He opened his mouth when he saw me, but the next second, I snapped at him. You're an idiot too. You've had a crush for years and never said anything. What? You don't have a mouth? Honestly, I don't even know if what Christopher said about the secret crush is true or not. Right now, I just want to yell at anyone who gets in my way. Elias looked at me, kind of hurt, and after a while, apologized to me in sign language. For a moment, I was speechless too. Oh right. I totally forgot. He really is a mute. Chapter 02. On the way back, Elias kept following right behind me. I didn't take a cab. I just wanted to walk down the street and clear my head. Christopher and I have been together for about 2 months, give or take. Honestly, I never had those kinds of feelings for him for the first decade or so. But after we got together, we actually had a pretty good time, and there were some nice memories. So hearing out of nowhere that all that sweetness was just some crappy lie, even if I'm usually optimistic, I can't help but feel a little hurt right now. If you don't want to be together, just say it and break up. What Christopher did is honestly disgusting. Once this is over, it's like more than 10 years of friendship just goes up in smoke. I let out a breath, watching the white mist slowly fade under the streetlights. I pulled out my phone to check the time, only to see a bunch of messages from my friends. They were all apologizing to me, All that stuff about not knowing how to say it or being scared I'd get mad, those are just excuses. If they really saw me as a friend, they'd know what I'm like. And they should have told me. I remembered everyone in that private room, sitting on the bench by the road. I deleted and blocked them one by one. Late autumn nights are still kind of cold. I couldn't help but sniffle. And the next second, someone draped a big jacket over my shoulders. A shadow fell beside me, wrapping me up in it. Elias looked down at me against the light, signed for me to hurry home, saying it was cold outside. Suddenly, I remembered Christopher admitting he had a crush on me. I couldn't help but sneak a few more glances at him. At first, he met my eyes like nothing was up, but then he started to look away, and he couldn't help turning his head to the side. Honestly, it really did seem like that was the case. Chapter 03. Christopher and I have been neighbors since before I can even remember. Our moms are besties, so we've always been closer than anyone else in the neighborhood. When I was 6, Elias moved in next door. I heard he went through something awful when he was little, and he just stopped talking. I've always been super outgoing, able to get along with literally anyone. His dad saw that I could chat with a dog all afternoon, so he asked me to talk to Elias more. My whole family is obsessed with looks, so the second I saw how good-looking Elias was, I agreed right away. Elias looked like the little prince ever since he was a kid, because he barely ever went outside. His skin was super pale and he always had this moody vibe. He hit puberty way later than everyone else. So before he was 15 or 16, he was actually shorter than me. Plus, since he couldn't talk, I always had this special urge to protect Elias. He didn't like dealing with people, just wanted to be alone. And he was crazy territorial. He wouldn't let anyone step into his space. Not even his dad. I crashed into his territory like some kind of bandit. Sometimes when I talked too much, he'd just make a gesture telling me to shut up. I just acted like I didn't see anything and kept talking. He started screaming and protesting, so I just shut him up. Finally, I had him totally under control. Just like that dog who didn't want to listen to me that afternoon, I pinned it down and made it listen to me talk all afternoon. And after that, it was totally obedient. As soon as I got home, I was non-stop replying to my friends' messages. After I told them what Christopher did, everyone was furious. We kept roasting Christopher in the group chat. And the more we talked, the angrier we got. I had to call them just to calm them down. I was honestly scared they'd actually go out and beat someone up in the middle of the night. By the time we finished talking, it was already 2 or 3 in the morning. After hanging up the call, I finally saw the message Elias sent around 10. Elias, did you get home? I can't believe I'm only seeing this now. So I replied a little sheepishly, yeah, I'm home, sorry. Just saw your message. Elias, it's fine. You have a lot of friends. I was honestly kind of shocked that he replied right away in the middle of the night, since he really doesn't seem like the type to stay up late. I don't even know why, but I could actually feel a bit of jealousy in his super proper message. If it was before, I definitely wouldn't have felt that way. But now he's, like, my secret crush. A notification sound snapped me out of my wandering thoughts. Elias, feeling jealous. Chapter 04. Turns out, there's nothing a good night's sleep can't fix. And if there is, just sleep twice. When I woke up the next day and went to school, the sting from yesterday's heartbreak faded pretty fast. During class, I got another message from Elias. Elias, morning. Are you at school? After I replied, I scrolled through our old chats. It didn't seem like we used to talk this much. Is he actually trying to hit on me or what? Elias, would my feelings for you make you uncomfortable? I answered super decisively, nope. Honestly, I'm just basic and shallow. Being liked by a hot guy is never gonna make me uncomfortable. Otherwise, I wouldn't have accepted it when Christopher started catching feelings. Yeah, he's a jerk, but his face and body are seriously on point. If he was missing even one of those things, I would have kicked him to the curb the second he started catching feelings. Elias, all right. All right? All right what? Isn't the next step supposed to be a confession or something? Like, well, I like you or whatever. I spent the whole class wondering why Elias replied with such a random okay instead of just straight up confessing to me. Like, he was already making it so obvious. Then it suddenly hit me, was I just getting played by him? Chapter 05. After class, I was heading back to the dorm with my roommates when I bumped into Helen at the stairs. Honestly, I didn't even want to talk to her, but I didn't expect her to call out to me. Selena, I'm apologizing for Christopher. I really didn't think he'd go that far. My roommates only knew that Christopher and I broke up, but they had no idea there was more to it. Helen just keeps rambling on and on. Honestly, I always wanted to tell you, but I just never found the right moment. His confession to you was actually a total misunderstanding. That night, Christopher was supposed to confess to me, but I wasn't in the dorm. He didn't know how to wrap things up, so he just went to you instead. Suddenly, I remembered Christopher's totally unexpected confession from a year ago. Back then, I was still in the dorm playing games when he called me out of nowhere, telling me to check the balcony because he had a surprise for me. I said, I'm in a ranked match. Can we talk later? He gritted his teeth and said, Is a ranked match more important than me? Get up, put on your clothes, and come out to the balcony. I said, a little impatient. Can't you just tell me over the phone? I'm losing this game. Christopher was all tough at first, but when he heard how annoyed I sounded, he totally softened up and started begging me, looking all pitiful. Come out and see. I'm about to freeze to death. Right after he finished talking, I lost my ranked match. Wrapped up in my coat, I walked out onto the balcony and looked down. There were roses arranged in a heart shape, and Christopher was standing right in the middle of them. I glanced around and realized that people from both dorm buildings were all leaning over the balcony, watching from above. Christopher was holding his phone in one hand and a bouquet of flowers in the other, shouting up at the building, I like you. He didn't call out any names. He shouted it a few more times, then spoke softly into his phone. Did you hear that, Selena? I like you. Everyone watching had no clue who Christopher was confessing to. Only me, holding my phone, knew that every I like you was meant for me. Afterwards, Christopher told me he didn't want to put any pressure on me, but still wanted to do something romantic. So that's why he did it this way. This way, all the teasing from everyone wouldn't land on me, and everyone would know he already has someone he really likes. When I found out Christopher liked Helen and not me, I didn't even connect it to all of this. I never imagined this whole thing was just a mix-up, and I ended up being the extra drama in their love story. But now, Helen straight up told me that the confession Christopher planned so carefully that day was actually meant for her. She just wasn't there, so I got swapped in as the main character. Christopher wasn't trying to stand up for me. It's just that I was never supposed to be the one he confessed to. He couldn't even say my name. Every nameless confession, deep down, I was always calling out someone else's name. If yesterday's breakup only made me feel about 80% grossed out, then today, Helen's words pushed my disgust with Chan all the way to 100. I spaced out for a second, then shot back at her. Are you guys together now? My roommate's eyes went wide, instantly picturing a whole cheating and love triangle drama in their heads. Helen froze, like she totally didn't expect me to ask that. She shook her head without thinking, then quickly added, It's not like that between me and Christopher. I hope you don't get the wrong idea. There were a lot of people coming and going in the stairwell. Everyone looked like they were moving forward. But honestly, after all that walking, they were still looking back. I said, If it has nothing to do with you, then why are you apologizing to me for him? Doesn't he have a mouth of his own? Or is it because you know that, in this whole mess, you guys did something to hurt me together? I didn't wait for her to answer. I just left her with a line that had a bit of meaning, turned around, and walked away. No way was I going to get caught up with her. When I got back to the dorm, I turned around and realized all my roommates were looking at me with these sympathetic eyes. Sully, you've really been through a lot. I hadn't even said anything yet, and they already spun a whole messy drama out of just a few random words. Sure, the way they got there was a little off, but their guess was basically right. Chapter 06. I was playing ranked match at night when another call just kept coming in. It was some random number. I hung up once, but they just kept calling, totally relentless. My hand slipped and I picked up, but before I could even say a word, the person on the other end just started unloading a whole rant. Selena, why are you dragging Helen into our mess? I was the one who screwed up. I already apologized. And you even threw cake at me. What else do you want? Do you even realize how much drama you stirred up at school today with what you said? Do you know you just made her look like a homewrecker? Haven't you heard that gossip can literally ruin someone's life? When are you ever going to think about someone else for once? Stop being so damn selfish. He yelled so loud it freaked me out. My hand slipped while I was gaming, and I dodged straight into the enemy's face. I was totally fuming. That's when I finally realized how wrong Christopher and I are for each other. The day I confessed. He made me lose a ranked match, and even when we got back in bed and kept playing, I just kept losing over and over. Still the same now. Why am I even dating a guy who's obsessed with ranked match? Does he even get how hard it is for me to fight my way up all alone? Just holding on to one heart? Does he know how freaking hard it is for me to get matched with a normal team? Me getting involved with her? Why don't you mention she was the one who came to me first and wanted to hash out who's to blame in front of everyone? Why don't you talk about how you two were sneaking around and dragged me, an innocent bystander, into your mess as your scapegoat? Just because you apologized, I have to accept it? I threw a cake at you, and you think that erases the 2 months of my time and energy you wasted? If you really want us to call it even, then smash cake on me in front of everyone. However many roses you laid out downstairs back then, that's how many cakes I want to smash on you. Otherwise, don't even think about showing your face in front of me ever again. You guys know better than I do who's really at fault here. And Christopher. Am I the only one you owe an apology to? When you got with the homewrecker's daughter, did you ever think about how much your own mom was hurt by her mom back then? I didn't give Christopher a chance to talk back. Just dropped those harsh words. If either of you lets someone else mess with me again, I swear I'll plaster all your little games all over the confession wall the very next day. I'm not backing off now because of you, it's just that I don't want this to get to Aunt Lee and hurt her again. Get lost. After I said that, I hung up right away and blocked the number. It suddenly hit me that with what Christopher did, the person who got hurt the most might actually be Aunt Lee. She's been struggling with depression ever since her marriage fell apart, and she still hasn't really recovered. She and my mom are best friends, and she's always been so good to me, pretty much treating me like her own daughter since I was little. Christopher, when she was 10, her husband cheated on her. The homewrecker showed up at their door, pregnant and demanding to take her place. Aunt Lee was pregnant too, but she was so pissed off she ended up having a miscarriage and landed in the hospital. That year was also Christopher's absolute worst. Turns out the whole happy family thing was just a lie. His parents' marriage blew up in the messiest way, and he was just drifting through every day, totally lost. I was with him every single day, racking my brain trying to make him feel better, doing my best with the adults to cover up how ugly the grown-up world really was, just to protect what was left of his fragile, innocent childhood. He doesn't remember all the things I did for him, or how much effort Aunt Lee put into fighting for his custody, but he remembers the tiny favors Helen gave him and his dad's sweet talk. Aunt Lee still hasn't gotten over the shadow her marriage left on her, even after all these years. And the son she loves most ended up falling for the homewrecker's daughter. How ironic is that? Chapter 07. Thanks to Christopher butting in, my mood, which I just managed to fix, got all messed up again. Dating is honestly such a hassle. Aside from those few happy moments in the 2 months we were together, everything before and after was just a pile of crap. I'm thinking of going home for a bit, just to figure out how to talk to my mom. As soon as I walked out of the dorm, I spotted Elias standing under the tree. It's honestly impossible not to notice him. He's so good looking, always the center of attention wherever he goes. I mean, I don't want to be all self-absorbed and think he's here for me. But Elias is already walking over. He used sign language to ask me if I was going home tonight. I nodded. What are you doing here? Waiting for me? He nodded, all obedient, and reached out to help me with my stuff. Elias is super stubborn. If I don't let him help, he might just stand here with me at the bottom of the building all night. My phone dinged. Someone messaged me. I opened it and saw it was Elias. I looked at him and said, "You're right here next to me. Why are you texting?" Elias asked if something was bothering me. I said, "How could you tell? Is it that obvious?" Elias said, frowning, "Still not talking much. You used to say like 800 things a minute when you saw me." I muttered, "Is it really that dramatic?" I cleared my throat and said, "Well, you said that was before. Things are different now. You have a crush on me, so I gotta play it cool, right?" Elias, don't hold back. Liking you is my business. I stared at the message he sent me, opened my mouth, and after a while, looked over at him. His ears were already bright red. I can't even imagine how much courage it took for him to send such a cringy line. Honestly, I was a little embarrassed at first, but seeing someone even more embarrassed than me, that tiny bit of shame just vanished. Elias. Seriously, lay off the romance novels. Elias just nodded blankly, lips pressed together, his long lashes trembling like they were about to fly away. He lowered his head and typed, "So, can you tell me what's on your mind? You can talk to me. I won't tell anyone." When I saw his message, I don't even know why, but it just hit my funny bone and I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Elias's serious face cracked for a second, and he looked totally confused about what was so funny. I grabbed his arm, doubled over with laughter, and he held on to me, worried I'd fall to the floor. "Elias, if you can't talk, how are you supposed to tell anyone?" Elias curved his lips into a smile and shook his phone. Oh right, he can still text people, but just picturing Elias with that face, totally expressionless, snitching on someone to others, made it even funnier. But honestly, he's seriously the best person to vent to. When I was a kid and failed a test, I needed a parent's signature. I was way too scared to show my parents, so I got him to fake their handwriting and sign it for me. He did it, looking totally humiliated. I told him not to tell anyone, and to this day, nobody knows. But in the end, the teacher still figured out the signature was fake and called my parents in. I wasn't in any rush to go home either, so I just walked down the street with him, side by side, rambling on about Christopher and Helen, and whether we should let Aunt Lee know, or how we could possibly hurt her as little as possible. If I keep quiet and it all blows up later, the shock might hurt her even more. I mean, last time with the cheating, it just hit her out of nowhere. We're all neighbors, and Elias knows all about the drama that went down at Chan's place back then. He doesn't say anything, doesn't even type, just sits there quietly listening to me, sometimes nodding, sometimes shaking his head. I asked him, "Do you think I should tell her now? They're out traveling right now, having the time of their lives. If I tell her now, wouldn't that just ruin their good mood?" Honestly, I already kind of know what I want to do, but when you're stuck dealing with such a mess on your own, you just want to hear someone else's opinion, whether they agree or not. Elias texted me, "After you found out you were being played by Christopher Chan, were you glad those friends in the private room didn't tell you, or pissed that they kept it from you?" Not everyone in that private room was just there for the drama that day. Some people were actually torn and conflicted. And in the end, they hid the truth thinking they were doing me a favor. But honestly, all of that just ended up hurting me. You spent the whole way worrying about Aunt Lee, but did you ever think about yourself? When I saw that message, I just froze for a second. It's not like I never thought of myself as a victim too. It's just that compared to what happened with Aunt Lee, my little heartbreak felt like nothing. And honestly, we didn't even date for that long. I wasn't that into Christopher anyway. The breakup was really more about being pissed off at being lied to, and feeling sad about losing a friend. When it comes to getting hurt, there's no hierarchy. What you both went through hurts just the same. When I saw that, all I could think was, if Elias could actually talk, his mouth would never shut up. Did he go get some kind of training or something? He was never this smooth before. I scrolled through my old chats with Elias, and his replies were always super short and to the point, totally fit the mute vibe. I totally kept my crush hidden. But honestly, after high school, we kind of drifted apart, and more people came into my life. Plus, with all the high school stress, quiet Elias just got squeezed out of my world by everything else. We started talking again, probably because we ended up at the same college. I stopped by the side of the road and snuck a look up at Elias. Turns out, he was looking down at me too. Our eyes met, and he paused for a second with his hand above my head, then finally reached out to fix my hoodie. I hesitated for a second and said, "Were you trying to pat my head or something?" Elias's lips pressed into a straight line, his eyes darting uncertainly across my face. And after a long moment, he finally worked up the nerve to nod. "Oh, not giving it to you. I think I heard him let out a confused little breath. His hand was all ready, but I just walked away. Let him chase after me. Go if you want. Chapter 08. After I got back, I talked with my mom all night. She was yelling and furious on the phone, saying Christopher hurt not just her daughter, but also her best friend. Honestly, it would have been better to give birth to a slab of barbecued pork than to him. His own dad didn't even want him at first, just wanted that homewrecker's baby. If it hadn't turned out to be a girl, would he have fought so hard to get him back? Seriously, the older he gets, the more clueless he is. He was such a sweet kid when he was little. Christopher felt even more sorry for Aunt Lee when he was a kid. He knew just how much his mom suffered in that marriage, so he didn't want to see her stuck in a messy divorce. So he took the initiative to go with his dad and set Aunt Lee free. Aunt Lee left Chan's house that day, and he hid in my room crying all night. And in those first few years, he seriously hated Helen and her mom. If they sat down at the table for dinner, he'd just flip the whole table. I remember once, he and Helen got into it at school, and he straight up called her mom a homewrecker in front of everyone, which got Helen bullied for 3 years. Later on, I don't even know when it started, but Christopher wasn't so harsh toward Helen anymore. Their relationship still seemed just whatever, but he didn't push Helen away when she tried to get close. Sometimes I'd even catch a glimpse of his chat with Helen, so many voice messages and calls. At the time, I didn't notice anything weird about their relationship, and those chat logs didn't seem off to me at all. After my mom finished ranting about Christopher to me, she started quietly sobbing on the other end. She was just heartbroken for her friend. My mom told me that Aunt Lee is someone who really cares about people. She gave her whole heart to her husband, and all she got back was 3 years of betrayal. And for her son, even though she's carrying so much pain inside, she still worries about him, always making time during her treatment every year just to be with him. But what I got in return just felt like betrayal. Mom asked me if I was hurting inside. I said I was okay. Love isn't my whole life. So honestly, breaking up really isn't a big deal to me, even if I was a little upset at first. I could always find someone to vent to. My parents have told me since I was a kid that nothing in life lasts forever, and I have to learn to accept loss as I grow up. Aunt Lee couldn't accept losing her marriage, so she's stuck in the past and can't move on. But some things come into your life whether you want them to or not. Instead of just letting it happen, it's better to take control. So I just accepted that I ended a relationship that was full of lies. It's not my fault, so I don't have to deal with all the bad feelings that come with it. That would make me miss out on so many good things, and I'd slowly lose the ability to notice anything beautiful. Mom said to leave Aunt Lee's stuff to her and not to worry about it. If Christopher comes looking for me again, just call my dad and have him find some guys to handle it. Beat him up as hard as you can. Chapter 09. I've been talking to Elias more and more. Things are warming up between us again, kind of like when we were kids and always stuck together. There was a time when I spent more time with him than with Christopher. It wasn't until later, when Christopher and I had a huge fight and he accused me of favoring Elias, that I realized I'd actually been ignoring him for a long time. After that, I started consciously trying to treat them both the same. But those two have never gotten along since we were kids. It's always been like, if one's around, the other's not. So I could only spend some time with Elias, some time with Christopher, and then hang out with other friends too. Basically, I got to experience the helplessness of trying to keep everyone happy when I was still young. The weather was getting colder, so whenever I didn't have class, I'd just go home and play video games. I just finished a game, and Elias asked if I was home. I told him I was, and he asked if he could come over for a bit. He forgot his keys and couldn't get into his place, so he had to wait for his dad to send someone. When Elias walked into my room, he looked kind of awkward, like he'd never been here before. I laughed and said, "Haven't you been here before? Why are you acting all weird?" He made a gesture and said it was only when we were kids. After we got a little older, I guess he just never came over again. Elias texted me, "I remember when we were kids. I used to watch Christopher climb in through the balcony into your room from the window. His window faces right onto my balcony, and Christopher's balcony is super close to mine. When he was a kid, he almost never came through the front door. He'd just push himself over with both hands and climb right in." Looking at the message Elias sent me, I don't know why, but I suddenly pictured a little kid standing at the window with a blank face, watching another kid squirm and climb into my room again and again. For some reason, that just made me laugh. I asked him. So why don't you climb over? Are you scared? Elias slowly shook his head and typed, I wasn't invited. I couldn't help but burst out laughing on the couch. That was such a dead serious reply. And with his super earnest face, I honestly could barely keep from cracking up. Elias kind of didn't get why that reply made me laugh so hard. But when he saw me smiling, he started grinning too. I chatted with him for a bit, then started falling back into my old ways and wanted to play games again. Elias leaned over, gesturing that he wanted to play with me. I was kind of shocked, because he totally has the kind of face that looks like he wouldn't play games at all. But then I thought, maybe he's a total noob, and as I watched him open the game, I was already thinking about how to teach him. But when I finally logged in, I realized he was actually a king tier player. But he never plays any other role, just support. He picks Yao and literally just latches onto me the whole game. Thank God he's good at protecting people. And I'm not bad either. So together we went on a winning streak for several matches. Otherwise, the two of us would totally get flamed to death for being the Siamese twins duo. I'm screwed. I'm so screwed. I'm gonna die, Elias. Help! I took out 4 of them, but I was left with just a sliver of health. And then I ran smack into their 5th guy. He was full HP and totally lost his mind chasing me. All my skills were on cooldown, and honestly, I thought I was 100% dead. Elias showed up next to me in a flash, healed me, threw up a shield, and actually saved me from the enemy. Wow, Elias. I freaking love you. Barely escaping with just a sliver of health got my heart racing way more than dying ever could. That whole suspension bridge effect almost made me fall for him. With Yao on my head, I spun around, totally fired up, and snagged the 5th kill. When we wiped out the other team, we took the win. That's 10 wins in a row now. My levels shooting up, and seeing all those stars piling up, I hugged Elias and cheered like crazy. It took me a moment to realize something was off. When I looked up, the white Elias had turned red, like he'd just been boiled alive. Elias, why are you blushing? He gets embarrassed way too easily. Elias couldn't look me in the eye, but I just had to stare at him. I leaned in, turned his face toward me, and checked him out from head to toe. Damn, he's really good looking. He couldn't hide how embarrassed he was when he met my gaze. It felt like my eyes weren't just glancing over him, they were kissing every part of him. I only realized how flirty the vibe was after the fact. Caught up in it, my eyes landed right on his lips. When I was with Christopher, I honestly never felt any desire for him. I never wanted to kiss him, and since Christopher was into someone else, he never thought about it either. So I still haven't experienced what a real kiss feels like. Honestly, if I think about it, Christopher's lips are actually pretty nice, but I never noticed before, and I never felt like I wanted to try them. But right now, I'm looking at Elias, and I can't help but feel all jittery. Maybe it's because he admitted he has a crush on me, so I just can't see him as a regular friend anymore. Or maybe, do I kind of like him too? My mind was still a mess, but my body just kept inching closer to him, closer to that fruit I was dying to taste. But Elias pulled away. I grabbed his collar, annoyed. Right then, I was as fierce as a bandit, and he was as delicate as some little bride I dragged back to my hideout. You don't want to kiss me? Why not? Elias looked a little hurt, gesturing as he said, I wasn't invited. Invited for what? To be your boyfriend. I let go of his collar, suddenly feeling awkward, and tried to smooth it out for him. I guess that's how it is. Even though we're close, friends can't kiss, only couples can. But I let go of his hand, and Elias just looked even more hurt. He bit his lip, and his bright red lips turned pale. I couldn't help but pinch his cheek and rescue his lips from his teeth. Elias signed to me. You just said you love me to death. Wasn't that a confession? I answered honestly. I was just hyped up from gaming. Elias stopped talking, and the light in his eyes faded a lot. But he still forced a smile and motioned for me to keep playing. I picked up my phone, sat up straight, and started another round with him. But he just wasn't himself. He missed saving people a few times and got flamed by our teammates. He looked totally defeated, like a frostbitten eggplant or a rabbit caught in a trap. Ears drooping, those clear, bright eyes looking like they might spill over with tears any second. I clapped back at everyone for him and carried him to an easy win. But he still didn't seem to feel any better. I just can't keep my mouth shut. After a few seconds, I blurted out, "Are you in a bad mood?" Elias shot me a sideways look, lips pressed together, not saying a word. Not that he could. Anyway, he didn't sign, didn't type anything either. He was totally sulking. Is it because I said gaming gets me all hyped? Or is it because I said I love you to death and made things weird? Or maybe you want to be my boyfriend, but I haven't given you an answer? Or do you just want to kiss me too, with every word? I watched Elias go from turning his head away, refusing to look at me, to slowly turning to face me. It's like using cat food, little by little, to coax a gorgeous stray cat out from its hiding place, and then making the catch. Elias was like, yeah, all of it. I couldn't help but ruffle his hair. His brows scrunched up for a second, then relaxed, his eyes curving as he slowly leaned his head toward me. He really is like a spoiled cat, doesn't care about anyone else, only wants to be close to me. I took another long look at his eyes and features. His eyes were all tangled up with affection, making my heart race. Just a minute ago, he was warming me up like a little heater, but now he's making my whole body heat up. I still couldn't resist the temptation. I pressed my lips right up against his. I heard from friends that kissing someone who actually knows how to kiss feels amazing. Like you just melt into a puddle and your whole soul starts trembling. I never really got it before. And honestly, I still don't. I've never kissed anyone. And Elias probably hasn't either. We just pressed our lips together for ages before we finally got up the nerve to go further. All awkward and hesitant. It was like we were both exploring and figuring things out on each other. I actually picked up the technique faster than Elias, took charge, and pinned him down on the sofa to kiss him. Elias's hand suddenly tightened on the back of the sofa, veins popping on his pale palm, while his other hand held me protectively around the waist. Even though he looked like he couldn't take it anymore and was totally out of breath, he still let me do whatever I wanted to him, even if he couldn't handle it. He couldn't say a word, he just kept breathing harder and harder. He looked so damn pitiful. My friend was right, kissing someone who actually knows how to kiss is seriously amazing. Elias took forever on the sofa before he finally caught his breath. Chapter 10. Class just ended. Elias told me to wait for him. He'd come pick me up at the classroom building. It was snowing outside. I'm sitting in the front row of the classroom, playing a ranked match while waiting for him. Just as I hit a crucial moment, a shadow suddenly falls over my head. I thought it was Elias. So I said, "Hang on a sec. Let me finish this round, Selena." But the voice sounded off. So I glanced up and saw Christopher standing in front of me, looking kind of defeated. I looked back down at my game, my heart sinking. No way. Am I about to lose again? Christopher pressed his lips together. "Are you with Elias now?" I just hummed and shot back. "I don't have time for you right now, so get lost. The teammates in this ranked match are matched perfectly. There's no way we can lose." Christopher still wouldn't listen, just standing there in front of my seat. Like, "So you're with Elias now? We just broke up, and you're already with him." I barely made it out alive, and when I got back to the fountain I snapped at him. "Are you serious? It's been 3 months since we broke up. Why can't I be with someone else? What? Am I supposed to stay single for you forever? Get lost. I'm playing a ranked match." Christopher was still standing right in front of me. I know it's probably too late to say this, but after we broke up, I took some time to figure out how I really feel. I don't like Helen. I never got together with her, and I don't have those kinds of feelings for her. He looked kind of lost. And after breaking up with Selena, Helen really did show she wanted to be with him. But for some reason, Christopher chickened out. He even found himself thinking about Selena when he was with her. He locked himself at home, trying to figure out how he really felt about both of them. He was sure he liked Helen. And as for Selena, he honestly thought he didn't feel anything. But did he really feel nothing? With no distractions from the outside world, Christopher started remembering everything from before. Maybe it wasn't that he didn't feel anything. Maybe he'd liked her since they were kids, and those feelings had just been buried so long that he got used to ignoring them. He thought it was just a normal thing. But when he really asked himself, would he be okay with another girl getting this close to him? Who would he think of first if something happened? Could anyone else give him the same sense of security that Selena did? The answer is no. That accidental confession that day, his heart was racing, and he just thought it was because he felt guilty for lying to his friend. Those 2 months after we got together honestly felt like the happiest, most carefree days he'd had in years. The change in status meant he wasn't just one of Selena's many friends anymore, he was the special one, her boyfriend. There were so many moments when he just wanted to be with her forever. But then Helen showed up, crying her heart out, saying she dreamed about those days when she was bullied at school. Chapter 11. Christopher was rambling on in front of me, but all I could think about was gaming. Let's start a match. Let's start a match. What I feel for Helen isn't even love. It's just guilt. I can't let this resource slip away again. I hit the button to start an attack. Back then, I exposed her mom for being a homewrecker at school, and that got her bullied for 3 years. I had no idea until I saw her come home all bruised up. I didn't realize that something I said without thinking could hurt her that much. I feel so damn guilty about her. Support. Heal me. Just give me a bit of healing. Help. Ugh. Everyone's already dead and now you finally come to heal. If Elias had even a shred of awareness. Christopher pulled at the corner of his mouth and went on. I've been holed up in my room like a total loser lately. A few days ago, I really wanted to see you. So I climbed over the balcony to find you. But then I saw. His voice was all rough. I saw you kissing Elias. So you two are together now. Huh? Even when I'm dead, I'm still nervously watching what's going on. Just waiting to respawn and group up. If we team up one more time, we should be able to win. Christopher called my name twice, but I was busy rallying my teammates for a team fight. So I just answered him absent-mindedly. Right at the most critical moment, someone suddenly yanked my phone out of my hand. I looked up, and Christopher was glaring at me, holding my phone with a stormy face. I watched in disbelief as my character just stood there and got instantly killed. I was absolutely fuming. Christopher is honestly a ranked match jinx. I snatched my phone back and watched as my teammates turned on their mics, asking why I was just standing there doing nothing. We lost the team fight, and our base was gone. Christopher was still nagging. Like, I've been talking to you this whole time and you're just playing games. Are games really that important? At least they're more important than you. I cut him off. Since you want to argue, let's lay it all out. You said you haven't figured out your feelings for Helen. That it's not love but guilt. Because something you said by accident got her bullied at school for 3 years. But did you ever think that, because of her, you're hurting me now too? So what? Your way of making things right is to hurt another innocent person just to make it up to her? Have you ever thought about how what you did hurt both sides? No, you haven't. Because you're selfish. You only ever think about yourself. You only care if you found a way to let out your own feelings. Are you going after Helen? Is she the homewrecker? Is she the one who hurt Aunt Lee? You're just dumping everything her mom did to your mom onto her, when she never even had a choice. Has your mom gotten over it? Has her mom ever been punished? No. So a few years later, you try to make up for what you did to her by hurting me. Is hurting me really going to help her get over the school bullying? Do I really deserve to be hurt by you? With what you're doing, all you're doing is giving the people you owe another reason to hate you. Who are you actually making things right for? Have you done a single decent thing in all these years? You say you care about Aunt Lee, but have you ever actually cared about her? Even a little? Do you know what meds she's on now? What treatment she needs? Or where she's traveling? You don't even know, and you went and fell for the one person she can't stand the most. For her. You hurt her best friend's daughter. How is she supposed to face me and my mom after finding out? Especially when she's so sensitive? Christopher, these past few years, besides making the list of people you owe even longer, what else have you actually done? Christopher couldn't say a word, because everything I said was true. He had nothing to say back. He just mumbled. Then why does it have to be Elias? Is it because Helen likes him? No. I said, I'm not going to drag innocent people into my own mess. I don't know how much Helen is mixed up in all this, but you were the one who confessed to me. You were the one who chased after me, and you were the one who lied to me and kept things from me. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have had anything to do with her. I have no reason to make any choices because of her. When my mom was little, she told me that things would get way more complicated when I grew up. Like, when you're a kid, math is just 1 plus 1, but once you hit middle or high school, it's all these crazy formulas and symbols piled into one question. And sure, math problems have perfect answers, but the stuff you run into in life almost never has a perfect solution. If you don't know how to fix it, just go straight to the person who started the whole mess. Chapter 12. I shoved Christopher away, grabbed my phone, and stormed out. The game over screen was still up on my phone. The second I walked out, I ran right into Elias coming up the stairs. He saw how pissed I was and rushed over to grab my hand. The next second, I saw Christopher walk out of the classroom. I really didn't want to get caught up with Christopher any more than I had to. Class was about to start, and the students would be arriving at the classroom building soon. College students are such gossips. I seriously didn't want to end up on the confession wall because of some love triangle drama. I grabbed Elias and hurried downstairs. He held the umbrella over me, shielding me from the wind and snow. I started ranting to him about Christopher, even showing him the ranked match loss screen. Elias couldn't sign to me while holding the umbrella, so he just listened quietly the whole way, nodding or shaking his head every now and then. Christopher was standing in the classroom building, just watching as those two figures disappeared into the endless snow. There was a flicker of confusion in his eyes. If they hadn't broken up, if he'd figured out his own feelings from the start like Elias did, would he be the one holding the umbrella right now? Chapter 13. I brought Elias home with me. I was dead set on winning back that lost star. It kept snowing for the next few days, so I just made up an excuse to skip my Wednesday class and gave myself a little vacation. As soon as Elias put down the umbrella and freed up his hands, he started signing to me. He looked all serious, and I thought he was about to tell me something big, like Christopher is mentally unstable, so don't hang out with him anymore. Or maybe, I'll protect you. I won't let him bother you again. In novels, when the heroine gets harassed by her ex, the hero always jumps in to save her. Not that I need it, because honestly, I think I can fight better than Elias. But if Elias wants to say that, I can go along with it, just treat it as some cheesy couple thing. But instead, he just looked super serious and started gesturing, complaining to me. Christopher glared at me. He was giving me this super intense, angry look, like he was about to come over and punch me or something. I've seen that look before, back when we were kids and he rushed at me to beat me up. I kind of remember now. When we were little, Christopher and Elias had some drama and Christopher just charged at him to fight. Elias might look weak, but when he fights, he really goes hard. Neither of them got anything out of it. In the end, I had to go pull them apart, and I literally had to kick Christopher, who'd totally lost it, away to finally stop them. Elias made a gesture and said, "He's had violent tendencies since he was a kid, right? He's not gonna come hit me, is he?" I'm scared. I'm speechless. I yanked up his sweater in a flash and grabbed his abs. I called him out. With a body like that, what are you even scared of? Elias wasn't even a bit guilty about being exposed. Instead, he looked at me all hurt, like I was the bad guy for calling out his act. He kept gesturing. "Aren't you gonna protect me?" I grinned and hugged him. "Of course I'll protect you. From now on, you gotta stick to me every day. I won't give him a chance to mess with you." Elias was satisfied, grinning as he rubbed his cheek against mine. "All clingy?" I asked, all curious. "Why don't you say something like you'll protect me from now on, and not let him bother me or whatever?" Elias looked at me with this big grin, like he was saying, "You already know, don't you?" I don't like being protected. Honestly, sometimes I actually prefer protecting other people. No one really understands how freaking exciting it is to have someone depend on you. That's also why young Elias caught my eye. When Elias first showed up, he was like this cat, all beat up and covered in scars, still baring his teeth and hiding behind that bad attitude to protect himself. Back then, I heard my mom say that when Elias went out with his mom, they got into a car accident. His mom shielded him with her own body, but the ambulance came too late, and he could only watch as his mother's life slowly slipped away right in front of him. The guilt made him stop talking, and he even got depressed for a while. He didn't want to die. He just felt like his life didn't belong to him, like he didn't have the right to decide whether he lived or died. Honestly, a lot of adults never talk to kids about this stuff. They just think kids don't get life and death, or that they don't really have feelings. But my mom never saw it that way. She'd talk to me about a ton of things, then leave the choice up to me, as long as the consequences were something I could handle at my age. I had to deal with them myself. At first, the cat did scratch me a few times, but I knew he didn't mean it. Whenever he accidentally scratched me, he felt even more guilty than I did. He just couldn't handle it. He'd get even more worked up trying to chase me away, like he was terrified I'd get hurt again because of him. After trying the gentle approach a few times, I decided to switch up my strategy. I just grabbed him, held him tight in my arms, and forcefully petted him to calm him down. After a few times, he just started coming over on his own. I have a feeling Elias knows what I like too, so he keeps acting all soft around me. Chapter 14. Ahem. Ahem. Elias and I were getting all cuddly in the entryway when someone coughed in the living room. I got so freaked out I pushed him away right away. Elias leaned against the door, quietly watching me, not saying a word, but I just had this feeling that if no one was around, he'd probably start crying the next second. I quietly grabbed his hand and rubbed it, trying to comfort him. Then I stuck my head out to look at the sofa in the living room. My dad, my mom, and Aunt Lee were all sitting properly on the sofa. My dad kept sipping water, shooting me these sideways glances, like he was about to grab a knife from the kitchen or something. My mom coughed twice. You've already brought them home, so why are you still being so secretive? Just come out and be straightforward. Elias stepped out from behind me, all calm and collected, and nodded politely at my parents. I gave Aunt Lee a hug and said hi. Aunt Lee patted my head and said she brought me a gift. It's in my room, and I should go check later to see if I like it. She started crying as she talked, saying sorry to me. It really broke my heart. I was just about to say something, but Mom gave me a look to keep quiet and sent Dad and Elias out. Aunt Lee stayed, hugging me and bawling her eyes out, guilt almost swallowing up her skinny body. For a second, I honestly thought if she wasn't holding on to me, her flood of tears would just sweep her away into some abyss she'd never get out of. She cried for ages before she finally pulled herself together, like she'd cried every last tear she had. Mom says it's good to cry. If you can't cry, that's when you're really done for, Aunt Lee said. I just wanted to talk to Christopher this time I came back. After that, I'm heading back to the States for treatment. I have to pull myself together. When I got back to my room, I found the gift Aunt Lee had given me. It was everything she owned. Mom told me to take it. If I didn't, she wouldn't be able to rest easy. After Aunt Lee spent the whole day talking with Christopher, she got on a plane to the US, turning down Mom's offer to go with her. Her tiny body pushed forward into the howling wind. She's trying to save herself. Chapter 15. On New Year's Eve, I got a call from an unknown number. When I picked up, fireworks were going off outside. They drowned out what was being said. Selena, sorry to bother you, but I just can't find anyone else to talk to right now. My mom came to see me once. She didn't yell at me, or maybe she just didn't have the energy to anymore. She looked even thinner than I remembered. She gave me money and said she was sorry. She couldn't fight for custody, left me at the chance, and I had such a tough childhood. I really wanted to tell her I didn't blame her, but I just couldn't get the words out. Maybe I really did blame her, and I carry the same guilt she does. There was a time when I felt like I was my mom's shackles, so heavy she couldn't even take a step forward, just dragging her down into all those bad memories from the past. You're right. I carry this guilt, but all I ever do is run away. I'm just desperate to get away from all these feelings that are crushing me, making it hard to breathe. That's why I avoid seeing her, and I try so hard to accept my dad and his new family. It's like if I just numb myself, maybe I won't seem so pathetic. Sorry. The firecrackers stopped, and the call ended too. Mom told me to video call Aunt Lee, so I just ignored another call from some random number. The person with the cat emoji in their contact name messaged me, "Can I come over to your place? It's so lonely being by myself. My dad only cares about work and doesn't pay any attention to me. He won't even come home for New Year's Eve. Cat head, it's our first New Year together. I don't want to spend it alone like this." Selena, of course you can. Elias was all dressed up, sitting at his desk, just waiting for Selena to reply. I grabbed the gift box off the desk and headed straight out the door. Elias's dad poked his head out from the kitchen. looking all confused at me changing my shoes by the door. Where are you going? Are you coming back for dinner or not? Elias shook his head. Elias's dad grumbled as he took off his apron. I even pushed off my work tonight just to hang out with you. Ugh, you ungrateful kid. Elias signed to Elias's dad, no need. I have a girlfriend. Elias's dad was speechless. If it weren't for my mom, I would have been beaten to death ages ago. Chapter 16. When Elias came over, he brought me a gift. I opened it and saw it was a scarf. I ran my fingers over the neat, delicate patterns on the scarf and asked, "Not really sure. Did you knit this yourself?" Elias nodded, looking like he was fishing for compliments. I was honestly kind of shocked. All these patterns and designs on the scarf. You stitched them on, one by one? I'm naturally hopeless with my hands, so I've never been able to do this kind of detailed stuff. Elias nodded again, even gesturing that it wasn't hard at all. I hurriedly shoved the scarf into his hands. Quick, put it on me. Elias blushed as he wrapped the scarf around me, opened his mouth, and after a long pause, finally said, "Selena." "Yeah," I answered instinctively. It took me a second to realize, whose voice was that just now? Elias. I looked up in surprise. Elias was smiling at me, and said, word by word, "Love you. You can talk now? Say it again. Quick, quick, quick. Say it to me again. I want to send it to your dad." Elias's father was so shocked to hear his son, who hadn't spoken in years, speak again that he dropped his bowl and chopsticks on the floor. He covered his mouth, all emotional, tears streaming down his face. The kid's first words weren't even "Dad." Seriously, what an ungrateful little traitor. Elias was just speechless. Elias's dad tried. "Come on, say Dad." Elias was speechless again. Chapter 17. The Chan family lives right next door, so whenever something happens, we hear about it fast. Christopher Chan's dad cheated again. The homewrecker showed up at their door with a kid, and Helen's mom just went totally hysterical. Watching all this, it honestly felt like history was repeating itself. Karma really does come back around. When Chan's dad saw that the homewrecker was holding his son, he didn't care about anything else. He just had to divorce Helen's mom and marry her. But Helen's mom isn't someone you can mess with. She was dead set on getting something out of Chan's dad. Things got so messy between them. And in the end, Chan's dad gave Helen's mom a pretty big chunk of money. He was honestly desperate to bring his youngest son home. Christopher and his dad don't get along, and his dad's scared that if he leaves the family fortune to him, his old age is going to suck. Helen's mom didn't take the little sister with her. She only took Helen. After all, Helen and Chan's dad aren't even related by blood. Helen's mom grabbed a ton of cash, planning to run off overseas. But Chan's dad wasn't some clueless pushover. He set her up and took every last penny from her. All that for nothing. Christopher and Chan just watched the whole mess with cold eyes. It wasn't until Chan's dad actually married the homewrecker and brought the kid home that they casually pulled out the paternity test and the medical report showing he couldn't even have kids anymore. Otherwise, no one wanted a third kid more than Helen's mom. She was desperate for a son to lock down her spot. But Chan's dad can't have kids. His whole life, he's only got one son who treats him like an enemy. For the rest of their lives, they're just going to keep tormenting each other. Chan's dad was so pissed he ended up in the hospital. And when he woke up, he realized he'd had a stroke and couldn't even talk properly. Christopher jumped off a building. He died, but not all the way. He turned into a vegetable, just lying there in bed. No one knows when he'll wake up. When my mom heard about it, she got so mad she started yelling again. But since she's not really involved, she didn't want to say too much. She was just stressing about how to break it to her best friend. This is just gonna weigh even heavier on Aunt Lee, and she's still in the middle of her treatment. So honestly, who knows what'll happen? Mom told me to stay out of it. Said it's none of my business, and just to focus on my own love life. When I walked out of the classroom building, I saw Elias squatting by the side of the road, holding some dried fish snacks, trying to lure a stray cat over. It was such a pretty stray cat, always popping up on the school's confession wall, and everyone knew about it. I walked up to Elias and said, "Are you trying to trick it into coming home with you? We're about to graduate. And I keep seeing videos online of grads catching a school cat to take home. Seeing Elias like that, I thought he wanted to catch one too. Elias shook his head when he heard that and tossed the dried fish snacks in his hand far away. The kitten saw there was no one over there and some dried fish snacks. So it stopped being on guard, happily ran out, grabbed the snacks, and darted back into the bushes. Elias said, No keeping other cats. He talks now. But most of the time he barely says a word. When I heard that, I raised my eyebrows. You saw the note I left for you? A cat face meme. When I was a kid, I always thought Elias was like a cat, so fancy and so full of himself. Elias just went and lifted his chin a little. He saw the note I gave him. Super special. He's the only one in my WeChat with an emoji as his note. And he's even pinned at the top. Totally one of a kind. Elias was so smug about it. I told him I wanted to see the note he gave me too. It was a fish emoji. You already knew what note I gave you, didn't you? Copycat. He just hummed, not really agreeing or denying it. On the way home, I was being all loud and annoying, and he just held my hand, quietly carrying my backpack and watching the road. He had this smile in his eyes. It's like he never gets tired of hearing me talk. Story 2. The flight I was piloting encountered severe turbulence and plummeted 200 meters. My palms were drenched in sweat. Yet, I forced myself to remain calm and executed a near-miraculous textbook emergency landing. Surviving such a close call, just thinking about today's events still fills me with fear, even if I were to recount them to Paul, but he remained calm throughout, and even asked me, "Can we talk about it later? I have a case I need to discuss in a meeting." The word stuck in my throat, "Let's get married," never came out. After we broke up, when he saw that I had started dating another doctor, he laughed in disbelief. Another one in the same field. He's just as busy as I was. Why put yourself through it again? It's different. I interrupted him. He responds to everything. He treats everything I say as if it were an epitaph. Chapter 1. As usual, I was piloting a flight from City B back to City A. Humming a little tune, I thought to myself, just 30 more minutes until I can see Paul again. But this time, not long after takeoff, the plane started to shake. At first, I thought it was just minor turbulence like before, something I could easily handle, but I didn't expect the turbulence to be unusually strong this time. The plane was already showing signs of losing control. A 9386. Prepare for an emergency landing at Songshan Airfield. Please prepare for an emergency landing. The voice came through the intercom. A 9386 received. The plane had already started to sway violently from side to side, and sweat began to form in the palms of my hands. I silently cursed in my heart. In the cabin, the cries of the passengers and the flight attendants' reassurances filled the air. The noisy environment only added to my anxiety. But outwardly, I remained calm. Tell the flight attendants to prepare for an emergency landing. Make sure the passengers don't panic, and have them put on their safety equipment in advance. Just as I finished speaking, a loud bang hit the front windshield, and cracks began to spread across the glass. If we didn't land soon, the plane could plummet from the sky at any moment. No one noticed how tightly I was gripping the controls, my veins bulging. Everyone else was panicking and praying for safety. Some passengers even knelt down to pray to the gods. I took a deep breath, watching the cracks in the glass spider webbing outward, and mentally reviewed every bit of knowledge I had ever learned. I pulled the control stick tightly, and the plane began a steep descent. It felt like something in my mind was about to snap. I had to succeed. I had to succeed. I promised Paul the first would land safely and go see him. In a split second, Paul's name flashed through my mind. But my hands kept moving at the very limit of the windshield's cracks. The wheels screeched and smoked as the plane finally came to a halt. The passengers were cheering as we touched down. We were saved. I knew better than anyone that if I had made the slightest mistake, the plane would have crashed, and everyone on board would have died. It felt like all the strength had been drained from my body, and my legs felt weak as I disembarked. Once we reached safety, I immediately called Paul. He didn't pick up. So I turned around, hailed a cab, and headed straight home. Paul is a brilliant surgeon, young and accomplished, My family is very pleased with him. A pilot and a doctor, it sounds like a match made in heaven. Even though we're both busy. When Paul got home, I rushed to him, ignoring my own exhaustion. He just lightly patted me on the back. I just finished surgery. I need to change and clean up. If you're hungry, just order takeout. Paul is always busy. Almost all of his time is devoted to medicine. It's the same routine as always. When there's surgery, going 48 hours without sleep is normal. After work, he still has to study cases, read research papers, and keep improving himself. In the past, I would obediently order nourishing soup for him, or I'd come home early, make dinner, and quietly watch him work and study. But this time, I clung to him and wouldn't let go. What happened earlier still sends a chill down my spine every time I think about it. Paul, you don't know how dangerous it was today. If I wasn't skilled enough, you wouldn't be seeing me right now. I've never encountered turbulence this strong before. The plane was about to flip. I was scared my sweaty hands would lose control of the stick or press the wrong button. As Paul walked to the bedroom to change clothes, I followed him, rambling on. Do you think I should go to a temple and pray? I feel like I'm the chosen one. Anyone else would have died. The whole cabin was in chaos. People were crying and even cursing at me. I kept chattering behind him. But Paul, without even planning to eat, sat straight at his computer, reading documents. He also opened up some of his saved research papers. I plopped down on his lap, trying to interrupt him. Paul, after I got off the plane, I truly felt like I'd survived a near-death experience. Paul didn't even look up and began picking up grains of rice from the table with forceps, one of the daily exercises surgeons do to keep their hands steady. He was so focused that, since his right arm was holding me, he switched to using his left. My heart began to sink. I had just gone through a life-threatening ordeal, and he didn't ask if I was hurt or if I was hungry. He just kept picking up rice like nothing had happened. Paul, are you even listening to me? Hearing that, Paul adjusted his glasses. I'm listening. Is there anything else? Then he pushed me off. It felt like someone had poured a bucket of cold water over me from head to toe. But his expression remained unchanged. It was as if today was no different from any other day. I have a meeting. We'll talk later. Paul raised his hand, ready to close the door. I grabbed him tightly, looking at his face without a hint of guilt. Aren't you worried about me? It was really dangerous. What if I had actually died? Paul slowly pried my hand off his arm. Before shutting the door, he said, word by word, Anna, you should have known before becoming a pilot that accidents can happen at any time. At that moment, it felt like someone was squeezing my heart, making it hard to breathe. The words "let's get married" stuck in my throat, never to be spoken. Chapter 2. I sat on the couch, staring blankly at Paul's bedroom. I thought back to how Paul had always been like this. His emotions were always so steady like the surface of a still lake. But when he confessed to me, I saw his nervousness. At that moment, I knew clearly, he loved me. So why do I still feel so upset? It's not like I didn't know he's this kind of person. He's always been like this. Even when I lose my temper or act unreasonably, he never really blames me. Honestly, I really wanted to say earlier, Paul, I was afraid I'd never see you again, when I was in danger. Besides thinking about how to land safely and ensure the passenger's safety, your name flashed through my mind in that instant. I was so scared that I wouldn't be able to hug you again, hear your voice, or sit by your side. But the emotions that were about to overflow were abruptly cut off by him saying he had a meeting. I know he's busy and ambitious, but can't he balance work and feelings? He's always so patient with his patients. I once visited him at the hospital, and he was polite and professional at work, with a gentle but not distant smile on his face. The young nurses and women would squeal quietly when they saw him. They would twist themselves into knots just at the sight of him. Thinking of this, I got up, planning to throw another tantrum. After all, he won't get angry. What's wrong with comforting your girlfriend? But just as I reached the door, I heard a woman's laughter coming from the bedroom. Oh, Paul has a girlfriend. You guys shouldn't always pair me with him. Then Paul's voice followed, with a hint of indulgence that was barely noticeable. It's okay. I don't mind it when it's you. I stood at the door, feeling like my whole body had been frozen in place. I couldn't move. Senior, we can joke around in private, but it wouldn't be good if your girlfriend heard this. It's fine, she won't get mad. Tears started to roll down my cheeks. Is it fine? I won't get mad? It's not that I won't get mad, it's that I don't dare. Even when I got upset with him before, it was always about trivial things. I just wanted to test if he loved me, but I never dared to push too far, because I knew that if I ever mentioned breaking up, Paul would really end it. Chapter 3. Outside the door, I felt a chill, like a thick layer of dust had settled over me. Inside the room, they were laughing and joking. After a long while, I sat back down on the couch. I stared blankly at that door. Maybe it was too quiet in the living room, because despite the door separating us, the conversation inside felt piercing, loud, and clear. Senior, tomorrow is my first surgery. I'm so scared. Don't be afraid. I'm there with you. I bit my lip hard, clenched my fists, and forced my trembling body to calm down. When Paul finally came out of the meeting, he immediately saw me sitting in the living room. Why aren't you sleeping? Who is she? I couldn't hold it in anymore, so I asked. No outburst, no accusations. Oh, she's my former advisor's daughter. She's interning at our hospital, and my professor asked me to look after her. Are you jealous? There's nothing between us. She's just a little girl who doesn't know anything. Unlike you, who's so mature. I felt a bit more at ease. Then why did you comfort her and tell her not to be afraid? But you never said that to me? Okay, this time I'm wrong. How about this? I'll be off in a few days, and I'll take you to that steakhouse you love. As Paul spoke, he pulled me into his arms and ruffled my hair. The familiar routine, the familiar words. It's always like this. Every time he comforts me, it's in a few days when I'm off. I'll take you somewhere. The first time he didn't keep that promise. I thought he was just busy. The second time, I thought it was an accident. By the fourth or fifth time, I just told myself, forget it. As long as he has the intention, that's enough. After all, his job really is demanding. It's not like he's off cheating or going on dates. But now I really want to ask him, does this even make sense? Am I that easy to fool? Is that why I've been falling for the same routine all this time? Is it really that hard to spend one day with me? Is it that difficult to keep just one promise? Chapter 4. Lost in my thoughts. I fell asleep. The shock of the day, combined with the adrenaline, had taken its toll, but even in sleep, I was restless. I dreamt that the plane still crashed. I dreamt that Paul ended up with that girl. I dreamt that the girl gently asked Paul, Senior, are we doing the right thing? After all, your wife just passed away. It's okay. She wouldn't be mad. Tears soaked my pillow, and I woke up crying, only to realize it was just a dream. Paul was sleeping soundly next to me. I wanted to check his phone, but I held back. What if there really was something between them? Would I break down, cause a scene, and then break up? But if there wasn't anything, would I end up feeling guilty for doubting him? When I woke up the next day, Paul had already gone to work. Yesterday's textbook emergency landing had gone viral on various platforms. Everyone was praising how, if it hadn't been for the pilot's skills, the entire plane might have been lost. I casually scrolled through some of the comments. Wow, just watching this is terrifying. I can't imagine how scared the people on board must have been. I didn't expect the pilot to be a woman. She must have nerves of steel. If I were her, I wouldn't want to go back to work anytime soon. I was deep in thought, reading the comments, when my best friend suddenly called. Oh my God, why didn't you tell me something so big happened? That's terrifying. I laughed and joked, saying it was nothing. Come on, do you know who I am? I have top-notch professional skills. That doesn't matter. You're a girl, and we're friends. What if something had really happened to you? What if we never saw you again? Why don't you ask your boss for some time off? I'm worried something might happen to you. I smiled and calmly reassured her that everything was fine. But as we talked, tears began to fall again. I'm really fine. Chapter 5. Paul and I are both busy. I don't know where my next flight will go or when I'll be back. He doesn't know how long his next surgery will take. We hardly see each other. which is why I treasure every moment we have together. Even if my flight lands late, I always rush home as fast as I can. The sooner I get back, the longer we can spend together. Even if he's busy with surgery, I can wait for him at home. I cook dinner at home, hiding the blisters I get from hot oil. He'll occasionally give a comment, though most of the time he doesn't like the food, just takes a bite and leaves. I feel disappointed after all that effort. I get no appreciation, but then I think about it. After such a tiring day, who would want to eat bad food? I've never said anything. I just tried harder to learn how to cook better. I wanted to be his emotional support, so that when he came home, he could relax. That's why I never bothered him with petty arguments. But can Paul really not see that I'm unhappy? He's a doctor. The most important thing is attention to detail. He can even easily detect his patient's emotions. How could he not notice my efforts, my hopes, and my disappointments? Even this time, with my emotions all over the place, I don't believe he didn't notice. I don't believe he doesn't know, but he couldn't even be bothered to comfort me. He wouldn't even move his lips to say a kind word. As I thought about it more, I seemed to understand something. I turned around and started packing my things. I'm not that blind. I can clearly see when someone doesn't care and isn't willing to make an effort. In the past, I would always make excuses for him, seeing him through rose-colored glasses. But this time, after packing up, I remembered there was a bracelet I loved that I had left at Paul's place. It was a matching set for couples. I had even taken the bracelet to a temple to have it blessed for safety and smooth journeys. I climbed thousands of steps, one by one, because I was told this temple was the most spiritual. At the time, I pestered him to wear it, even though he didn't like it. He still accepted it. How ridiculous, I'm the one flying planes every day. Yet I didn't ask for a charm for myself. Instead, I gave it to Paul. Carrying my luggage, I headed straight to the hospital, thinking I should take the bracelet back. But before I even entered, I saw Paul in his office, laughing and chatting with a girl. I could only see her wavy hair from the back, but even just hearing her voice, I could tell she was radiant. "Senior, this bracelet is really nice. Did your girlfriend give it to you? If you like it, you can have it. Thanks." They exchanged light-hearted words so effortlessly. I always rack my brain trying to get Paul to talk to me, but with her, it's so easy. I walked straight in. "That's my bracelet. If you don't like it, give it back." The girl was startled, but Senior gave it to me. I said it's mine. "Didn't you hear me?" My voice was already tinged with anger. Paul noticed and tried to calm me down. "Anna, it's just a bracelet. If she likes it, let her have it." I brushed past him and grabbed it. The girl resisted, not wanting to let go. During the struggle, the bracelet snapped. If that wasn't enough to make me lose control, Paul's next words shattered my last emotional defense. "Anna, it's just a bracelet. I'll buy you another one. Can you stop making a scene?" If I still had any expectations for Paul before, at this moment, I was truly done. "Paul, are you saying I'm being unreasonable?" My voice was trembling uncontrollably. Chapter 6. Okay. Senior. Sis. Please don't fight because of me. It's my fault. Zoe stepped forward. As she spoke, her hand naturally rested on Paul's arm. That scene made my heart ache instantly. Paul didn't seem to notice anything and lightly patted her hand in response. "Anna." Paul called my name. I knew he was angry too, but what right did he have to be angry? Was it because I embarrassed him, putting him in a difficult spot? Or because I didn't back down and was making a scene? "Paul, that bracelet, remember. I spent 6 hours climbing Tianhua Mountain to have it blessed. You know that. And now you've just given it away so easily. And it's broken, and you expect me to just let it go? Do you think I'm some kind of fool in your eyes?" I couldn't hold it in any longer. I had had enough. My emotions exploded at that moment. My heart was pounding, and even my temples throbbed with each pulse. "Go home first. We'll talk about it later." Paul's voice broke the silence, carrying an air of authority. Just as I was about to say something more, the office phone rang. "Doctor, come quick. The patient seems to be having a post-op complication." As soon as the call ended, Paul and Zoe walked out without looking back. Their silhouettes were like two soldiers marching into battle side by side. Anna, stop making a scene. Those were the last words Paul left in my ears before they left. He hadn't even noticed the suitcase I'd been holding in my hand the entire time. I knew I looked like a fool at that moment. His calm, rational demeanor contrasted sharply with my hysterics. Anyone would think I was the one being unreasonable. Chapter 7. I met Paul on one of my flights. He was sitting quietly in first class, working on his laptop, a white shirt, clean-cut short hair, and striking features. He sat there, calm and composed. The cabin was filled with a woody fragrance that matched Paul's demeanor. Maybe it was fate, but I kept running into him on other flights after that. Eventually, I made the first move and struck up a conversation with him. He told me he was sent out on research by his professor, so he would be traveling a lot during that time. I thought we would just remain casual contacts on WeChat. But 6 months later, we met again. After that, we gradually got closer. Even when things between us were at their most intimate, Paul was always so calm and unruffled, like a still lake that couldn't be stirred. No matter how many stones you threw into it, I could never quite figure him out. Just when I was about to give up, he invited me to see a movie. After the movie, his voice, for once, carried a hint of nervousness. Anna, can I like you? His confession was so abrupt, like a college boy experiencing his first crush. I couldn't help but laugh. Of course you can. A female pilot and a medical student. In other people's eyes, we were a perfect match. But I don't know when it started, when I began to feel so small in this relationship. I needed more and more proof that he loved me. I needed more and more validation from him. In 3 years, I became the version of myself that I used to dislike the most. Compromising, trying too hard to please, all for his happiness, just for one word of praise from him. I, someone who never even lifted a finger in the kitchen, learned how to cook and make soup. Once upon a time, I was the one everyone pursued. Being a female pilot wasn't easy, and I worked hard to achieve it. But this time, I'm truly exhausted, and I finally see things clearly. Paul is a considerate person. His interactions with others have never caused any trouble. His boss likes him. His professors like him. His patients and coworkers all like him. He knew it would hurt me, yet he did it anyway. He never used his care and attentiveness on me. I sent him a message, let's break up. Then, I grabbed my suitcase and left. I had planned to say a proper goodbye, but I never thought it would end like this. Chapter 8. I even felt a bit of regret. Why didn't I just slap him earlier? If I had known it would end like this, why did I even bother maintaining my image? I took the earliest flight back home. It's funny, really, how I was always so eager to see Paul. Yet I'd forgotten that I hadn't visited my parents in half a year. By the time I got home, it was already evening. There wasn't a single message from Paul. He's probably busy fighting battles with Zoe. Side by side. No time for these matters of love. I thought for a moment, then blocked and deleted him. My mom was thrilled to see me home. How long are you staying this time? She asked, holding my hands and looking me up and down. About half a month. My parents didn't ask too many questions, just smiled and nudged me toward the dinner table. Did you and Paul have a fight? My dad asked softly. I was just about to say something when I saw my mom elbow him. I knew that ever since I was a child, I'd always been independent, and my parents had always respected my decisions. Even when I turned down an international flight position for Paul and switched to the B city to A city route without consulting them, they didn't say anything. At the time, my dad simply patted my shoulder and said, "We support you, but think it through, is he really worth giving up the wider skies?" Thinking about this, my nose suddenly stung with emotion. I broke up with him. It's okay. It's okay, to be honest. Your mom and I never liked him anyway. My dad had barely finished his sentence before he got smacked again. My mom glared at him, giving him a "why did you have to say that?" look, while my dad sat there completely puzzled. "I'm just telling the truth. You didn't like him either," he said, still confused. "Shut up. No one's asking you." My mom, fed up, turned to comfort me. Breaking up is good. Now you can spend more time with us. I'll find you someone else. Just as I was feeling touched, my parents managed to kill the mood in a second. Great. I just broke up, and they're already planning to set me up with someone new. But I never knew they had issues with Paul. In front of me, they always seemed supportive. Later, my mom told me she had seen it from the start. It might have looked like Paul was the one who confessed to me, but in reality, I was the one chasing after him. He just enjoyed the way I treated him. Something that others could see in an instant took me 3 years to understand. When my best friend found out I had broken up, she hesitated for a moment. She didn't think we would end things so easily. I understood why, after all. I'd threatened to break up before, and it's not like she didn't know how much I loved Paul. Maybe this time it's really over, I said. On the 3rd day after returning home, I received a call from Paul. Anna, where are you? He didn't mention the breakup at all, as if he assumed I was just joking. Paul, we broke up. I won't be coming back to you anymore. Don't contact me again. Anna, are you throwing a tantrum? Haven't I told you before that I don't like hearing those 2 words? Paul's voice was unusually angry. I gave a cold laugh. It was always like this. He used to say he didn't want me to throw the word breakup around. He said he loved me, but he just didn't show it, and he hoped I wouldn't act like other girls who treat breakups lightly. To him, once a breakup was mentioned, it was final. So after bringing it up once, I rarely did it again, as if his order was proof that he truly loved me. Get lost. Stop making me sick. I hung up the phone and blocked his number. I took my mom's advice and went on a blind date. Apparently, she had been planning it for a while. At first, I wanted to resist, but I couldn't hold out, and I didn't want to spend the entire half-month at home listening to her nag. The guy on the other side of the table was polite and well-mannered. He said he had just returned from getting his PhD abroad, and his family had immediately started pressuring him to get married. I asked him what his job was, and he said he was a doctor. I felt my smile freeze on my face. Had I stepped into a nest of doctors? I thought it would be a simple dinner and that we wouldn't have any further contact. But to my surprise, Eric started contacting me every day. If it wasn't about what he ate, it was about how cute the cat he saw on the street was. Sometimes, I even wondered if he had faked his degree. What kind of doctor has so much time to flirt? Gradually, we became closer. He even started coming over to my house for meals. Both my parents were absolutely delighted after meeting Eric. At dinner, they kept praising how excellent I was, which left me blushing and feeling embarrassed. Mom, stop. He's got a PhD from abroad. Why are you boasting so much? Auntie is right. You really are excellent, Eric said softly. I was stunned for a moment, and my mom gave him the biggest, most approving smile. I never expected Paul would show up at my door on what was an otherwise ordinary day. My parents thought Eric had arrived and excitedly went to open the door. When they saw who it was, their faces instantly fell. We ate dinner in silence. Anna, why did you break up with me? Paul asked, sitting in my room, clearly confused. Do you really not know why? I shot back. Is it because I didn't comfort you after the plane incident? Or because of the broken bracelet? Aren't these all small things? Besides, that girl is my advisor's daughter. I just couldn't. I cut him off before he could finish. You just couldn't stop hurting me, right? Paul instinctively tried to deny it. Didn't I say I'd make it up to you? I was going to take you to your favorite steakhouse. Oh, and how many times have you actually followed through on your promises? Even when we broke up, it took you almost 2 weeks to remember to come find me. Paul, you and I live in different worlds. Just leave. I'm giving you one last chance. Are you sure you want to break up? Before I could respond, Eric arrived. Some people announce their presence long before they show up. Even from my room, I could hear him calling out, Auntie, I'm here to see Anna. Then my door swung open. The tension in the room spiked, with Paul's demeanor immediately turning dark. You're breaking up with me because of him, aren't you? I slapped him hard across the face. Paul, do you really want me to say it? Do you think I don't know what you and Zoe have been doing? You sent her flowers on Valentine's Day. Sent her cute emojis. You told me, as a doctor, You were afraid of carrying bacteria, so you never let me touch any pets. But you still helped her bathe her pets. You said you were too busy to share your daily life. But what do you call the pictures of the sunset you sent her after work? My words were all over the place, but Paul was left speechless. All he could say was, "Let me explain." That night, I had checked his phone and saw that while he was sending me half-hearted responses like and oh, he was turning around and laughing with her, while I was trying to figure out if his mood swings were because of work. He was out shopping with someone else. He always said that buying flowers was pointless because they'd just wither soon. But then he turned around and gave them to someone else. In the end, it wasn't that flowers had no meaning, it was that I wasn't worth it. Eric pulled him out of the door. It wasn't until half a month after the breakup that I truly felt its weight. The tears wouldn't stop flowing. It turns out, I only just realized now that Paul never loved me. Even his attempts to win me back were laughable. An order and an accusation. He was so sure I'd never leave him that he acted without any restraint. But thankfully, it's all over now. After a good cry, I felt an emptiness settle in my heart. If this had been before, I would have been over the moon if Paul came to ask me to reconcile. But when I saw him today, I realized he's just a complete jerk. From the moment we broke up until now, I'd been acting like nothing was wrong. And finally, today, all the pent-up emotions came crashing down. Chapter 9. My vacation ended, and I threw myself back into work with everything I had. As for Eric, I thought he'd give up, but to my surprise, he only became more persistent, even booking flights on the same routes as mine multiple times, and he kept saying it was a coincidence. I asked him if he had too much free time. He said, "I'm a doctor. I'm busy saving lives." I told him to go back to work. He pouted and said, "But love is a lifelong commitment." I couldn't understand how someone who appeared so cold and professional could do something like this. Eric pursued me relentlessly for 6 months. In the end, I said yes. Because of my previous relationship, I always kept my guard up. He knew that. But he never complained. During holidays and weekends, he would travel to my city whenever he had the time. He said it was what he should do. Even when he had surgery, he would text me before going in, estimating how long the operation would take. I always thought surgeries were unpredictable. He said that from the moment you see the case, you know how long it'll take, unless there's an emergency. It turns out, even when it came to surgeries, Paul had been lying to me. I ran into Paul again a year later. He looked disheveled, with stubble on his face, and his usually pristine clothes were wrinkled. He looked nothing like his old self. "Anna, I finally got the chance to transfer to the same city as you. Now, you'll never have to fly routes to be city just to accommodate me again." I couldn't believe that in the year he'd been gone, this is what he had been doing. For a moment, I didn't know if I should praise him for his dedication. Why did he wait until now to do something he could have done long ago? After I had taken 99 steps toward him, he finally took one step. "I don't love you anymore, Paul." A year had passed, and I had long since forgotten about him, but it seemed he couldn't accept it. He kept asking me why. "You used to love me so much. Why after just 1 year? Did you forget about our 3 years together in just 1 year?" I took a step back, putting distance between us. "You said it yourself, that was before. A year is a long time. And yet you only came to find me now. What were you doing before?" Self-pity and emotional manipulation no longer worked on me. Chapter 10. Eric continued to treat me well. Being with him, I gradually returned to who I used to be. I said what I wanted to say. I yelled when I wanted to yell. I didn't have to worry about whether he was too busy or whether he'd be upset. He told me I could be whoever I wanted to be. I could stand still, and he would come to me. "Anna, please. I just can't forget you. I'm begging you." Paul's voice, over the phone, was shaky with tears. He said he'd been diagnosed with depression. He used to think, no matter what, I'd always be there for him. He thought that even without me, he could still go on. It wasn't like he hadn't tried to win Zoe over, but after I left, he realized how completely wrong he was. Zoe was impossible to deal with, and I had been the only one who could tolerate him. I knew what this was. He was just seeing me as a backup after comparing me to others. Paul somehow managed to get multiple phone numbers to keep calling me. After a while, I stopped answering any unknown numbers. This time, when I picked up out of frustration, it was the hospital. They told me a patient had attempted suicide by taking pills, and I was listed as the emergency contact. Paul had overdosed on sleeping pills. After we broke up, his life fell apart. He made mistakes at work. Zoe had long since lost interest in him, and when he tried to come back to me, I wasn't exactly welcoming, unable to handle all the setbacks. Paul finally broke down. Anna, I'm sorry for troubling you again. Paul apologized from his hospital bed, looking gaunt and hollow-eyed. His voice was hoarse as he spoke. I sat by his bedside, watching him in silence. You came, so that means a part of you still cares about me, right? Just as he finished speaking, Eric arrived. I immediately ran over and took Eric's hand. Eric, too, shot Paul a cold, unfriendly look. I smiled and showed Paul the ring on my finger. Paul, I'm engaged. Stop doing things like this. You're disgusting to me now. With that, I walked out with Eric, leaving Paul behind, looking ashen-faced. Yes, I called Eric here to settle the score once and for all. And now, I've done it. I doubted Paul would ever bother me again. Eric and I got married, just as we had planned. I was grateful I had woken up from my delusion early and grateful I had gone on that blind date. It brought me to someone who was willing to listen to my ramblings, someone willing to put up with my moods and hear me out, even when I was just talking nonsense. Sometimes, choosing a different path brings you to a completely different landscape. The end.